Okay, it just cuts out a lot of the light in my room when that goes away. All right, we have 7 p.m., so we'll go ahead and get started. Well, thank everyone for coming. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. The Thursday, August 6th, 2020 meeting of the Muscatine City Council. Cindy, can you please do roll call?
Councilmember Hopkins?
Present.
Councilmember Freilich?
Present.
Councilmember Malcolm?
Present.
Councilmember Gordon?
Present.
Councilmember Brockert?
Present.
Councilmember Gendrich?
Present.
And Councilmember Brackett?
Present.
7 present, 0 absent.
Thank you, Cinda. All right, it is my understanding, do we still have a presentation for the Pledge of Allegiance this evening?
Yes, we do.
All right.
Awesome. Very nice.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Did anyone else get an audio?
No.
No.
Kevin, was there audio that you got with that?
Yes, it was. Not sure why it didn't come through.
All right, well, you want to go ahead and start it over and we can just go ahead and start speaking. We can say the pledge right when you start the video.
Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good looking bunch.
All right, so
I suspect that the police stole the audio. We need to have an investigation.
apparently Pledge of Allegiance over Zoom is a awkward and an awkward process. So that was an interesting one. Thank you, everyone. All right, so I've got a proclamation. Before we get to communications from citizens, I have a proclamation that I'm going to read, as well as we have a couple of life-saving awards that I want to address, but they were a little bit further down in the agenda. Brett, do we have everyone on that needs to be for that?
Yeah, it appears that both Officer Schellmeyer and Matt Fowler are on.
Okay, because I want to make sure that they can get back to whatever they need to be doing, and before we get into any deep discussions on anything. So I'm going to move that forward in the agenda and read that. I'll read that now. I am going to start with the item in the agenda that was first, though, the proclamation. So this is from John Cook, our Water Resource and Recovery Facility Director. And this is a little bit of recognition for the work that the good folks in Water Resources provide for us. So the Water Environment Federation stated, in these uncertain times, the coronavirus pandemic has provided an urgent reminder that water and wastewater services are essential and fundamental to all aspects of life and society. Every day, communities rely on the expertise of water professionals to protect public health, the environment, and the economy. This essential work is carried out by skilled workers with quiet consistency and is largely invisible. A crisis such as the coronavirus pandemic reveals the critical nature and true value of reliable water and wastewater services. Like many other critical professions, water workers are on the front lines of the global response to coronavirus. None of them do it for recognition, but they deserve our appreciation. The Water Environment Federation family salutes the men and women who are working tirelessly to ensure water services are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Please join us in recognizing and supporting our water workers who are in every city and town serving all of us. To all the water professionals, we say thank you. The head of the EPA stated, on March 27th, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Andrew Wheeler sent a letter to all U.S. governors requesting that water and wastewater workers, as well as the manufacturers and suppliers who provide vital services and materials to the water sector, are considered essential workers, and businesses by state authorities when enacting restrictions to curb the spread of COVID-19. In the letter, Wheeler wrote, ensuring the drinking water and wastewater services are fully operational is critical to containing COVID-19 and protecting Americans from other public health risks. And Governor Kim Reynolds has made a proclamation stating, whereas the state of Iowa's surface and groundwaters are a treasured natural resource, and whereas the water and wastewater workforce of Iowa have dedicated themselves to applying environmental science to enhance drinking and recreational waters of Iowa, and whereas their applied environmental science-based practices continue to be a vital element in improving the quality of life and preserving and protecting public health in our state and promoting sustainability in our way of living. She went on to say, therefore, as she stated, now therefore I, Kim Reynolds, Governor of the state of Iowa, do hereby proclaim August 16th through 22nd, 2020, as Water and Wastewater Workers of Iowa Week in Iowa, and urge our citizens to recognize the valuable role clean water plays in the lives of all Iowans. Thank you to all the dedicated water professionals in our town for protecting public health and the environment of our community. Thank you for providing that to us, John. That is a critical thing that I think that we all need to recognize. If we did not have the water both flowing to us and away from us, we would recognize that importance very quickly. So, all right. So this is now, we're going to move on to, this was under item 9 on the agenda. And so what I've got here is on July 7th, 2020, at approximately 8:30 a.m., Officer Mark Scholmeyer and Corporal Matt Fowler were on patrol when they smelled smoke and observed smoke coming from the 500 block of Liberty Street. They were in the same patrol vehicle and went to the area of the smoke. The officers observed a house fire at 512 Liberty Street. The officers kicked in the front door of the house and yelled with no response. They could not see into the house because of the black smoke. They went into the back of the house where Corporal Fowler kicked in the back door. Corporal Fowler yelled into the residence. It was then that they heard someone. They found a woman lying on the floor just inside the back door. Corporal Fowler and Officer Scholmeyer picked up the woman and carried her out of the house to safety. Due to the quick actions of the officers at the house, they saved the woman's life. So we would like to recognize these two officers with the Muscatine Police Department Life Saving Award presented to Corporal Matt Fowler and to Officer Mark Scholmeyer. And you will receive I don't know, Brett, did you provide the hard copies of these awards already?
I have not. I was waiting for the mayor to sign those when she got done with vacation.
Oh, great. Okay.
So.
Yeah, and that does, they have her name on them, so she can sign those when she gets back. So I want to add, an additional thank you. I have, when I was younger, experienced a house fire and understand the disorientation that comes along with being in a situation like that. So I want to thank both of you for providing that service and saving this woman's life. That's a great service to our community.
I would also like to congratulate Corporal Fowler and Officer Scholmeyer on their life-saving award tonight. You guys are true professionals. You guys kicked in not one door, but 2 doors and saved this woman's life by kicking in the back door and pulling her to safety. I'm proud of both of you guys. Keep doing all your great work moving forward, and congratulations.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, officers. All right, we will now move on to communication from citizens. Do we have anybody? You can either make a note in the chat, or if you would like to speak at this time, please unmute yourself if you're muted and indicate that you would like to speak.
Yes, I would like to speak.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
Jacob Martin, 2205 2nd Avenue.
All right, and go ahead and state your topic.
My concern is we have a ditch waterway that runs right alongside our business there, and this last month it flooded pretty bad. This isn't the first time this happened, but we had a car actually drive down through there, and this is just a very dangerous area. The water comes all the way up to our building, and we've spent over $65,000 trying to fix it, and the problem's still not fixed, so we need to see if now the city can do something to resolve this, because it's causing issues, not just for us, but for the roadway as well when it's flooding over the road.
Okay, and I think that, did you send out to all of the council members information on that and photos?
Yes, I have sent video to all council members and some photos as well.
Okay, and do we have anyone from Public Works on the call tonight?
This is Brian Steinman, Public Works Director. Can you hear me?
Hi, Brett. Yes, Brian, thank you. Were these photos and this information provided to you as well?
Yes, I saw the photo. I saw the video of the car driving through there. So you know, we do have an agenda item tonight to address and actually hire the consultant for the former DOT site. That will be addressed. Part of this will be addressed with that project. So we are aware of the issues there. We are working towards a solution. We cannot prevent people from driving through floodwater. That should be evident, but it does happen. And, you know, they do that. They take that risk on themselves, but we are aware of the issue there, and we are trying to come to a solution.
Okay, so with that project, just to be clear, you are planning on doing some flood mitigation or attempting to do some flood mitigation with that project. So that is on the agenda. That's great. All right. Does that, for the time being, Jacob, does that answer what you were looking for?
Yes, it does.
Okay, perfect. Did you have any other questions this evening?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak about anything that is not on the agenda this evening? I see a question from one person that actually that question will be addressed later in the meeting. We do have that item on the agenda. So I don't know if I would consider it discussed at length, but it will be discussed. So we'll go ahead and move along with the agenda. We are now at the consent agenda, and this is items 6A, 8A through H, 9A, 12A through C, and bills totaling $1,589,578.89. These items will be considered as routine by the City Council, will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved, Gordon.
Okay, we have a motion by Gordon. Do we have a second?
Second, Roberts.
I heard John Gendrich first, so we have a second by Councilman Gendrich. All in favor of accepting the consent agenda, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries, all ayes. All right, so we will now move on to item 11. 11A, we have presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution awarding the contract for the demolition of the structure at 104 Clinton Street to Solsco LLC for the amount of $14,500. Solsco LLC was the lowest of the two bids received. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved. Brockert.
A motion by Councilwoman Brockert. Do we have a second?
Second, Gordon.
We have a second by Councilwoman Gordon. Is there any discussion on this topic?
No, except that the neighbors have been wondering when this is going to happen, and I'm sure they will be pleased to know that it will be soon.
I would agree with that. This is something that has come up quite regularly in the community, so I'm glad to see this moving forward. There's no other discussion. This is a resolution, so Councilman Hopkins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Freilich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gordon, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Councilwoman Brockert, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion carries all ayes, or resolution carries all ayes. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 11B, request to approve the SBA fiscal year 2021 funding. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to enter into a contract with the Iowa Department of Transportation to receive state transit operating assistance in the amount of $256,239. City Council approved the application for this funding on April 16th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved.
Out of everybody that spoke up, I heard Hopkins in there. So Councilman Hopkins has the motion. Do I have a second?
So, second, Freilich.
We have a second from Councilman Freilich. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries all ayes. All right, moving on to item 11C. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Justice for the award of a Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $15,763. This grant will be split between the Drug Task Force, the Muscatine County Sheriff's Department, and the Muscatine Police Department. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved. Brockert.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Gordon and a second from Councilwoman Brockert. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries all ayes. All right, we're on to 11D. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the Muscatine Landfill Regulatory Assistance Services proposal from Barker Lamar Engineering Consultants. The proposal is for $15,000 per year for fiscal years 2021 through 2023. $15,000 has been budgeted for this expense in the fiscal year 2021 landfill budget. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved, Hopkins.
We have a motion from Councilman Hopkins. Do I have a second?
Second, Brockert.
We have a second from Councilwoman Brockert. Thank you. Any discussion on this item?
Councilman Kelsey, I'd like to just ask a question.
Go ahead, Councilman Gendrich.
Probably for Brian Simon, I think, if he's on. Is Brian on, or Greg Jenkins? Is Greg there? Or
I'm here. Brian Simon's here.
Go ahead and state your question, John.
I'm just wondering, this is a 3-year agreement, and I'm jumping ahead, which I know I shouldn't do, but B&E's same company. What is the process if something should change with the landfill and these agreements need to be council would like to cancel these agreements. Is that possible? Easy to do?
Yeah, I believe that is possible because it's a yearly renewal. You know, we have that opportunity every year to not renew. And I believe there's a mutual separation clause in that as well. I did not read it, but I'm pretty confident that there is one in there. I don't know if Dave is on the call or not. You might be able to answer that in a little bit more detail. If not, we can get that for you tomorrow.
I do see that David Pope is on the call.
Yes, this is Dave. The short version for the answer for that is they don't do the services, you know, they don't perform services for us under this contract unless we request it. So even though they have the agreement for that amount for each year, if we don't request that they do any work, they don't get paid anything. So.
Okay. A lot of reading there. I did try to get through most of it. I didn't see anything, and it was just a concern. Good answer. Thank you.
Are there any other discussion items on this? Hearing none, all in favor indicate so by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries, all ayes. Right. Moving on to item 11E. Oh wait, no, yeah, sorry. Saw landfill and thought I was going back to the other one. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the Muscatine Landfill Annual Services Agreement with Barker Lamar Engineering Consultants. This agreement is for the amount of $29,615 for fiscal year 2021, $28,550 for fiscal year 2022, and $29,430 for fiscal year 2023. Funds for this service are budgeted into the fiscal year 2021 landfill budget. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So move, Gordon.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Gordon. Do we have a second?
Second, Brockert.
And a second from Councilwoman Brockert. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, I have a question, Kelsey. This is Nadine. For either David or Brian, why do the amounts for each fiscal year vary? Are there tests that are being required one year that aren't required in the next?
Yes, I can answer that. This is Dave.
Okay.
That is correct. You know, certain years we do annual testing out there or biannual testing, and it kind of determines on what dates those tests fall on. So yes, the second year of this, you know, you'll see that figure is less, and that is due to the fact of different testing for different years.
Okay, thank you very much, Dave.
And then in addition to that, these numbers should drop. We're in the process right now of closing out our C&D landfill, which will mean we don't have to have testing done on that anymore. We're just waiting with COVID. The DNR has not made it out to the site for the final inspection, but once they come and do that, and then we close that landfill out, so these prices should see, you know, should reflect less on each year.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Any other discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries with all ayes. Moving on to item 11F. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $10,275.04 to Built-Right Handlers and Attachments for the purchase of a replacement grapple bucket for the transfer station. There is $10,000 budgeted for this purchase in the fiscal year 2021 transfer station operating budget. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved, Brockert.
A motion from
Second.
Councilwoman Brockert, and I heard a second from Councilwoman Gordon. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, all ayes. All right, moving on to item 11G. Presented for the City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $6,825.60 to Rehrig Pacific Company for the purchase of 112 new 95-gallon containers with lids. Rehrig Pacific was the only quote requested in order to keep all containers owned by the city the same make and model. There is $6,000 budgeted for this purchase, fiscal year 2021 refuse collection capital equipment budget. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved, Hopkins.
We have a motion by Councilman Hopkins. Do I have a second?
Brockert.
And a second from Councilwoman Brockert. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, all ayes. Moving on to item 11H. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to award the contract for the former DOT site master planning to Leggett Architects of Moline in an amount not to exceed $63,475. Requests for proposals were sent out in February and 4 firms were interviewed in June. Leggett Architects was the unanimous decision. Funds are available for this project in the former IDOT Facility Acquisition and Improvement Project account. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilman Malcolm. Do we have a second?
Second, Brockert.
And a second from Councilwoman Brockert. Any discussion on this item?
Kelsey?
Go ahead, Councilman Freilich.
I was just wondering, is it more of a question? During the time before the city took control of this property, I want to know if there had been any inspections for asbestos, PCBs, or any other toxins, and whose responsibility is it to clean those up if they are there?
This is Brian Steinman, Public Works Director. All of those site assessments were completed before the transaction of the property, and anything, there is nothing there. Anything that would have been there would have been the responsibility of the DOT, but that has all been investigated and resolved to satisfaction.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries, all ayes. All right, we are down to item 11I. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the declaration of the police range building located on Muscatine Power and Water property off of Dick Drake Way as surplus, so bids can be received for its removal. Due to multiple years of flooding, the building can no longer be used. Once the building is demolished, a new building will be built on higher ground. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved,
Hopkins.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Gordon. Councilman Hopkins, would you like to second?
Sure.
Okay, and a second by Councilman Hopkins. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All ayes. Moving on to item 11J. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $14,995 to Star Equipment Ltd. for the purchase of an air compressor to replace the 1965 portable air compressor that has failed. 4 quotes were received, with Star Equipment being the lowest. There's $15,000 budgeted for this purchase. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved, Gordon.
So moved, Hopkins.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Gordon, and is that a second from Councilman Hopkins?
Sure.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Item 11K. presented for city council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $28,490 to Geosynthetics, Inc. for the purchase of 10 150-foot by 45-foot geosynthetic bags. 2 quotes were received, with the low quote coming from Geosynthetics. There is $30,000 budgeted for this purchase. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved.
I caught I'm not sure who came first. We'll go, Councilwoman Brockert had a motion. Who wants to fight over the second?
I'll take it.
All right, well, second by Councilwoman Gordon. All right, any discussion on this item?
I do have a question.
Go ahead, John.
I think probably for John Cook, I noticed in the description of services and so forth and of dredging the harbor, reference to dredge the harbor as needed or on a yearly basis. And I'm just wondering if, if the harbor is currently safe and navigable by the boats, if there hasn't been any problems, is this something we could put off and use the $30,000 for something that might be a little more, that is more critical, or just keep in the bank to see what happens, with finances and so forth? So your reaction, Mr. Cook.
Yeah, the harbor was not dredged last year, and it's going to be pretty critical to do. We have a new project. Park and Rec is actually putting a new dock system in, so we need to get in there and clean that harbor this year for sure. So the docks, the new dock system is going to be put in, and we don't really know what's down there right now due to the flood last year. So it's going to be pretty important that we clean that harbor out.
Kelsey, this is Rich, Parks and Rec.
Okay, go ahead, Rich.
We are having, the river rose in the last 24, 48 hours up to 10 feet. When it was down to 8 feet, boats were starting to drag and having problems with their props accessing the harbor. So it does look like it is needed this year.
Okay, good. I was down there today and it did observe some of the restructuring, you're doing there on the docks and the riprap, and looks good. And just a thought that, maybe it'd be a way for us to save a little bit. Certainly it's, most people pay for a service, and we need to keep it in good shape. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Any other discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries, all ayes. Moving on to 11L. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the mini pitch project concept plan and cost estimate subject to outside funding for the addition of a Musco mini pitch to be added to the Muscatine Skate Park site. Musco will provide the mini pitch materials and installation valued at roughly $70,000 at no cost to the city. Musco will also help identify funding sources for the remaining roughly $20,000 needed to fund the acrylic surface. The city would be responsible for any fence removal needed. Is there a motion to approve this request as submitted?
So moved.
Okay, we had a motion from Councilman Malcolm. I didn't catch who the second. And a second from Councilman Freilich. Any discussion on this item? I guess I would comment. I thank Musco for bringing this forward. I think this is can be a great addition to that area and add a little diversity in the activity options available. So, as you can see in the on the screen, if you're following along on your computer, this is the location where this project is proposed to go, and right next to the skate park. And this is what it would roughly look like as far as how it would be put together. So
I want to maybe comment too. you know, enhancing that with this mini pitch facility, I think will also draw participation to the skate ramp and apparatus at the skate park too. So increased participation, I would hope, will certainly occur through all this. Great deal.
Absolutely. And so once again, I would like to thank Musco for their contribution to the community. And yes, go ahead.
I'm gonna make a recommendation, and I hope Rich pays attention. The center of this soccer field needs to have the city flag in it. I'm just saying.
Rich is paying attention. Heard loud and clear. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I like that concept as well. I could look nice there. Yes, go ahead.
This is Councilman Gordon. There is a question in the chat about this.
Okay. What about flooding?
Yes.
All right. Do we have somebody on that could answer any questions about that? I mean, it's on the other side of the levee, so it'd be seepage flooding if it got flooding. But do we have anyone?
This is Rich, Parks and Rec. I can answer that.
Go ahead, Rich.
In 2004, when the skate park was built, it was part of the Pearl of Mississippi projects. We identified that site. There was old tennis courts there. So the old tennis courts were repurposed into a skate park. There were roughly 100 truckloads of clay brought in to raise that level so it's higher than the curb level. You'll see water standing in Mustard Park, seep water from the levee, but you'll never see water on that skate park, just like you will never see water on the home plate of Mustard Park, because both those elevations are larger than the curb. In order for water to get on those areas, you would have to have the slough flooded, and the entire south end would be flooded for that to happen.
Perfect. Thank you, Rich.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries, all ayes. All right, now we are moving on to item 11M, and this is a discussion with possible action. Who would like to start the discussion on this? So
I will.
All right, so Councilwoman Gordon, go ahead. And I did not get a chance today to have a discussion with Nancy on the items, so we can bring that up. So.
Yes. Thank you, Councilman Brackett. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce the request that was submitted to Council by the Keep Muscatine Beautiful Committee. They are requesting approval for an improvement project to city public property, specifically installation of lights and electrical service in the vicinity of a future band shell on the riverfront. Brenda Christensen and Chris Bohr will speak on the behalf and the details of the project, and they also have other team members available for questions. Andrew Fangman and Rich Climbs are available also for any city questions. So in reverse, we're going to learn and get information from Brenda and Chris, and then we do have one or two motions to make after the information is shared with us. Brenda and Chris, can you take it away, please?
Thanks, Peggy. Thank you. So this is Brenda. I just wanted to introduce the topic. I hope that all of you in the past have been able to attend a Almost Friday Fest event down on the riverfront. It was very well attended last year, and we are planning to move forward this year with the August event with proper social distancing and mask wearing. I'm sorry?
I think someone just coughed.
Okay, sorry. We do have a plan in place to move forward with the August event. So last year, as we held these events, one of the things that we noticed as it got later in the year, specifically August and September, we did have some safety concerns with the lack of lighting in this area. We were escorting people out in the dark. We did have some spotlights brought in to help us in September after we had experienced August. But it was one of the things that we decided our riverfront probably needed if we were hoping to move on this area into the future to have more events and to have an amphitheater installed. So Chris and I took the initiative to talk to both Musco and Power and Water on what their thoughts were on getting lighting installed in this area. Both companies were extremely helpful and very forthcoming on what they could do in kind for services, and what it was going to cost us. And so Chris and I talked to some community members, some other businesses in town. You know, we were thinking we were going to need to raise, you know, close to $200,000. As we've gone down this path, we did get more concrete prices. We got in-kind services from both Power and Water and Musco that took our costs down. And we have been fundraising, and we have our costs down to approximately $30,000 that we still need to raise. And I'm feeling pretty confident we can still raise that. We did send a letter to the city administrator in February asking to get a budget item put in. We feel that although this is a community project, it probably is something the city would want to be involved in. This is their long-term master plan to do some riverfront improvements, and I feel like we're just helping it get moving finally. So we're confident in the funding. Musco has agreed that they will process the money until we're able to pay for it, but still go forward with the project. We were hoping that the city would want to be involved, if not in this year's budget, in next year's budget, to help us get this project all paid off. So I just rattled up a whole bunch of facts. Does anybody have any questions? And we do have both Musco and MP&W representatives online for technical questions, because that's just not our thing.
And our goal is to have the lighting project completed by our September event. So we'd like to get moving on things.
All right, so does anybody have any comments or questions on this?
Kelsey?
Go ahead, Councilman Freilich.
Yeah, I don't believe that this is in this year's budget for 2021, is it not? I don't remember it being. I don't have an issue with the project at all. I think it's a great idea, and I think we should go forward with it. But I would like to see this put into the budget for the next year's budget. When we're at a point where we're running a deficit in our budget, I just don't think that right now we can put something in that is a non-budgeted item when we're already cutting budgeted items. I'd really like to see it put into next year's budget if that will work.
Right, and that's, I think what she was just explaining would be that if we did approve that they move forward with this, that we could put it in next year's budget and pay for it in the 21-22 budget, because the 2021 budget is already set, and as you stated, we've held off on a few things. So, you know, I would see this as probably, if we come out of this, we may have two separate motions, one to move forward with the project and the other to direct finance to put this, you know, to be prepared to put this in the budget for next year. I had intended to try and get a hold of Nancy this morning to ask that question, but my day got away from me. So
Kelsey, I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilman Malcolm.
I distinctly thought I heard the young lady said that they're going to try to raise all the money themselves, and they're also trying to raise money using us to help them with, if I remember the note I read, $15,000 to $16,000. But if she can raise all the money on her own, even though we're rolling it to next year for us to revisit it, if they're able to raise the $30,000, then in our budget hearing in January, it's a non-issue for us.
Well, so this is Chris. So if we do raise the money, our next step in the process would be to raise the money for the amphitheater. So anything that we would raise over that, we would want that towards the amphitheater. Because in our project, as far as the lighting goes, the power will be there for the amphitheater.
The excess power is included in our project. So what we're proposing is that if we raise enough money that we don't need the city's money next year, that we be allowed to come in front of the council and request a donation towards the amphitheater, which is the next step. And we fully intend to work with the city and the city plans to make the amphitheater what the city desires, but we would like to keep our momentum going to finish up that end of the riverfront.
I don't have a problem with that. I just, like I said, I'm like Councilman Freilich. You know, I'm looking at the thing that we're currently in a pandemic. We're cutting stuff and not allowing certain things, and so I don't have a crystal ball even though I'm supposed to be smart, I can't predict the future. I'm not sure what's going to happen next year. And so I'm being proactive and saying, maybe I might not be able to commit to that. I don't know. So, but yes, I would like to support this. I think it's a very good project. I might even come out there and hang out, but okay.
That'd be awesome.
I had a couple technical questions.
I'd like to comment if I could, maybe. I'm sorry, Kelsey.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I think it's important for council to acknowledge all the hard work and the very positive direction of something, a project like this. And, we hesitant to, to pay for some things and not others, and the budget crisis and so forth. So I think it's very well within our bounds to make a commitment to the Keep Muscatine Beautiful organization that, we're going to take a very, very serious look at helping out with this project in next year's budget when we meet in January. So, I hear a lot of positive things, and I hope the council will all agree with.
So I had a couple of technical questions on this. First off, was this planned in coordination with city staff and the existing plans, which I believe it is. I think that is, was already, maybe was answered, but not exactly that way. So that's my first question.
Yep, this is Andrew, Assistant Community Development Director. Yeah, this has been reviewed with city staff both for technical issues and for conformity with the current riverfront master plan. For the technical issues, this was structured in a way where it avoids the floodplain down there and also avoids the two force mains that we have running through the area. In terms of the riverfront master plan, this is very much in harmony with it. What the master plan called for was kind of a band shell / amphitheater up there kind of by the basketball courts, and this kind of being festival days. So I think that, this is definitely in harmony with the plan that we adopted a couple of years back.
Okay, so then the other question I have would be, with this lighting, how far, like is it directional lighting? Or is it going to just create a widespread glow? Like what is the lighing going to be?
So I know Musco's on the line. They can answer. They provided a very detailed kind of diagram of what it would be, and it doesn't really go past bike trails. So I think someone from Musco's on, they could probably speak to it a lot better than I am.
Yeah, because the only document that I've got on this is just the letter, and what I see on the screen right now that was not part of the attachment, as far as I can tell.
Jason, are you online from Musco? You could answer that.
If Jason isn't, I am, Brett Nelson.
Oh, Brett. Okay, great, Brett.
Go ahead, Brett.
So yeah, it's directional lighting in the sense that the poles are located along the walking trail there, away from the river. The lights will be oriented in such a way that they point back towards the actual river to light that area, with as even spread as can be distributed, from pole to pole to pole to light that area as evenly as possible. There'll be 4 poles to spread out the light to cover that space.
Okay.
And we're providing, the product that would be provided is our LED product that has specific cutoff properties that allows the light to be contained to that space and not necessarily spill out into the river as well, in terms of nuisance and lighting. So we're able to control the light substantially in terms of how we put it on that space.
Okay, yeah, that was kind of what I was getting at there. I don't know. I don't want to get into a discussion about some other lighting that we have in town that had gone up recently right now, but that was kind of what sparked my question on this, was because I remember recently having a number of people asking questions about, hey, why is there a green light in the sky? And that kind of made me want to dig in a little bit deeper on this new lighting. So if it, I've got concerns about light pollution as we add more and more lights. And so if these are designed in a way to be able to restrict that light from spreading where it's not supposed to be, then perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you would like, if you have enough concern on that, you'd like a demonstration, be welcome to come down to the factory and we could give you a better sense of what the performance of that lighting is in our dome.
Okay.
Just feel free to give us a call.
All right, I will reach out because I do have some questions that aren't necessarily part of this meeting. So. And
anybody's welcome to attend that as well if you'd like to arrange.
Perfect. Was there any other discussion on this? Or on any of that? Yes. We don't have a motion on the table right now, so we're not yet anyway. Go ahead.
Right, Kelsey, I can see this benefiting the area between Broadway and Pine Street because, as you know, I travel back and forth through that, especially going to council meetings, and that area tends to be a twilight zone. Those light standards and the medians are pretty, but they don't put out much light. So this would be a benefit to drivers going along that stretch of road.
Unless it works as Brett was describing and it cuts it off, and then that light shouldn't actually reach over there.
Yeah, and I think the intent of the lighting was that it was turned on for the events and not necessarily, it's not lighting intended to light the roadway.
Okay. Yeah, but if we could look into the other, maybe some other time, that area is a twilight zone at night.
I think that'd probably be an MPW discussion.
Okay.
So before we look at how we could format some action on this particular item, is there any other discussion? Okay, so the suggestion that I was going to make is that we have two motions, and I would like Nancy Leake's input on this as well, is that we potentially have a motion giving approval for Keep Muscatine Beautiful to move forward with the public property improvement project on the Muscatine riverfront as described in this letter and as described in the documents provided. That would be one motion that I would entertain. The second motion would be that we ask the finance department to prepare to budget $16,000 in next year's budget, which would still be subject to approval during the budget meetings, but to include that in the proposed budget. Nancy, does that fit with you? Does that work if we end up with those two motions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We can definitely look to try to incorporate it in the budget. We've got some real uncertainty with our funding sources going into the budget, so we just have to keep that in mind. And generally, it's capital requests are balanced throughout the general fund and weighed against each other at that time during budget. The other thing, though, is that if this probably would qualify if the city, if there wasn't funding available to consider including it in the 2022 bond issue. So we would have those options for possible funding. But again, we don't really, I'm cautious going into next year's budget at this point.
Understood. So what I would, we've got the two possible motions. In my opinion, I am open to that. Go ahead, Councilman Malcolm.
I make the motion to allow the group to use the public land.
I'm not sure. Peggy, did you have, Councilwoman Gordon, did you have a prepared motion for that?
Yeah, but I can defer to Councilman Malcolm if he'd like. I do have the two ready, but we can, you know.
Well, I'll take this one and you take the second one.
Okay, go for it.
Well, so I move to give them permission to use the riverfront lighting plan, the improvement of public property.
Okay. So we have a motion. We have a motion to allow Keep Muscatine Beautiful to move forward with a public property improvement project on the Muscatine riverfront. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Gordon?
Do we have a second by Councilwoman Gordon? Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Councilwoman Gordon, I believe you have a motion.
Yeah, I have a second one. I move that we request that the finance director review the funding request of up to $16,000 to fund the city portion of this project and include it in the 2021-22 budget.
All right, do we have a second?
A second.
Second, Brockert.
I caught Councilman Malcolm in there first, so we'll take a second from Councilman Malcolm. Any discussion on this agenda, on this motion, sorry? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries as well. Thank you.
Can I take a moment to just make some final comments?
Yes, go ahead.
I would like to thank the council for their consideration and their support of this project. It means a lot to Keep Muscatine Beautiful, and we do hope that in the future, as we move towards helping to make these riverfront improvements happen, that we continue to get the support that you are giving us tonight. And I'd also like to thank Musco Lighting and Muscatine Power and Water. They have went above and beyond on helping us make this project happen, and their in-kind donations are over $75,000 to help us make this happen. So they deserve as much credit, if not more, than Keep Muscatine Beautiful does in making this project happen.
Yeah, thank you
very
all.
much for that. Yep, and go ahead, sir. Oh, sorry, I thought we had some things.
Well, I piped up and said, I think that's great too, Kelsey. Sorry about that.
Nope, not a problem. Thank you. I saw another person unmute right when you said that, and I misunderstood where the sound was coming from. So I would also express the same, the thanks to Musco on this as well. Two items on the agenda tonight with contributions to the community to improve the community are, that's a wonderful thing, and things that will encourage people to be outside. We have obviously with the coronavirus, COVID-19, we have uncertain times. What is going on, and any outdoor activity that we can encourage provides an option for people to be able to get out and do some things and not be cooped up, and hopefully be able to still exercise a little and see the outdoors with lower risk. So thank you very much.
Kelsey?
Yes,
just a side note, Musco Lighting has the city of Muscatine flag flying.
I do.
Yeah. I just wanted to point that out.
And we appreciate that as well. All right, so now we're going to move on to item 11N, which is a discussion regarding city council meetings resuming in city council chambers. Who would like to pipe in on this?
No.
I stand in the same place that I did before. So I guess I would ask, is anyone in favor of, and if they are in favor of moving back into chambers, did they have a date in mind?
This is Councilwoman Gordon. I am in favor of council meeting in person starting in September, but having all the audience still as remote and calling in and watching remotely. I think it benefits us to be in person.
So my concerns on that, and it's not a showstopper because I'm not, but I have a question on that, which is what would be the logistics of, the audio, the video for the public input part of that, if we are in council in person and the public is not.
Well, we do have telecom. We do use it for conference calls, for some of our closed sessions and such. Do you think that wouldn't be sufficient?
I'm just wondering, I don't know. Actually, the question was more for staff. If anyone from staff is on the call that could address whether that particular technical hurdle was reviewed at any point in, during this process. Not sure that we have anyone that can speak to that.
Kelsey, just interject real quick here. If it sounds like you and Oz and Peggy have talked out there as well about waiting till September. Just a suggestion: can we get our city administrator and our city staff to come up with get all this information ready to go and present to us the third Thursday in August here, and have some plans ready for to meet in chambers in the first meeting in September with the public coming in via video, a plan from our city staff for our next meeting. Maybe that would give them more time to prepare, or might be just cluttering things up too. Just a thought.
No, I think that, John, with Gingrich, I think that's a great suggestion. What I would ask, I guess, would be whether we have consensus, to ask staff to prepare a plan for council to return to chambers starting in September, with the public still connecting remotely, and how that would be handled. I would want to know the details on that to make sure that we are not in any way limiting transparency or limiting access from the public any more than is necessary during this time. As it stands right now, it is a little awkward for the council connecting in remotely and holding these meetings, but it puts the public on even footing, in my opinion, with the council members. And I have concerns about potential lack of transparency if we meet in person and the public is not allowed in the room. And so that is why I want to know that we have all of that in place and that can be handled accordingly before we move back into council. So do we have consensus to have staff put together that plan and bring it back to us at the third Thursday this month at our next meeting?
So, yes. Kelsey,
who's speaking?
This is Greg Jenkins.
Oh, go ahead, Greg.
So we have organized the space. I think Nadine saw it this week in a way that you guys would not be on top of each other as you usually are. We have the technology to broadcast this and to receive input from citizens who are viewing it remotely. And I also believe that I think this evening's presentation is being broadcasted via the television like it always is, and that's because they're doing it, I believe, in chambers and chemical speak. And my point is that we're pretty ready to go. It's just a matter of, if you have a few questions we've yet to answer, we're happy to do so, but that chamber's ready to go, and I think we can handle the technology.
I would like a demonstration then, before we do that, where we can see what it's like for the public to be able to communicate back and forth with the council, if the council's in chambers. That'd be my preference.
I think we can do that.
If that's already there, then I'd like to be on both sides of that. I would like to come in to council and have somebody act as the public from the outside and see what it's like from that perspective. And then I'd like to turn around and do it the other way and act as the public with somebody else in chambers to determine if communications is appropriately acceptable. If it still provides access from the public in a way, because it's not just that we want to make sure they can see the meeting, they need to be able to interact with the meetings. They need, people need to be able to have access to us while we're in the middle of a discussion, and need to be able to provide that input. And I don't want to put that roadblock in there. And when we're all on, one moment, when we're all on the computer accessing it this way, we all have the same delay. We all have the same items that hold us up a little bit. But once we're in person, it's going to be really easy for council to move too fast for the public when the public is connecting in remotely. And so I want to make sure that that is fully functional and that we're not limiting the public's ability to provide input to it. And so that's where my concern is more than anything else, because I understand that we have a space plan that would allow us to be separate. We can wear masks, so on and so forth. It is the public's ability to communicate that I am most concerned about in this situation. So go ahead, and Councilwoman Gordon.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Brackett. I think we could do that test pretty easily with a few members of the council in chamber, while a few others are scattered throughout the building representing the public and calling in. And then we can switch, so during the same testing zone or time frame, we could try it out and see both sides of the tool. And I think what we've been doing with the agenda and the PowerPoint presentation gives us a cadence. And as long as we keep that cadence while we're working remotely, that should help the public, because it keeps us on track, but at a good pace. So if you want to schedule, I think we could schedule that kind of test.
Sure. The other question, the other question I would have on this is, what benefit does it provide us to do that?
It reduces some of the awkwardness.
Only for the council members, though, and that's where, goes back to my concern.
Okay, and what we need to do, I'm sorry, go ahead, Nadine.
Oh.
No, you're fine, Peggy, I'll wait.
No, I was just, we need to take steps to move forward, and I think this would be the first step. And we do see other cities, such as Bettendorf, Davenport, and such, do meet in chamber. So it's something to consider, but taking everything you mentioned, Kelsey, into consideration, I think is important. But just test it out and see what it's like. And we can even, again, we can't take any action. We can't talk about anything specific, but we could, read the Pledge of Allegiance again. I don't know.
Sure. Well, and if we don't, if we don't have a quorum, and then we're not working, it doesn't matter anyway.
Correct.
There's a chat question.
Councilman Malcolm.
There's a chat question, and that deals with this as well.
Well, and that's, so in chat, the question is, would staff be in chambers or online for questions from the council? That's a great question. If we start including staff in chambers, then, if we don't have the public in there to start with, then they could space out accordingly across the seats. But if we're having them go up and down, back and forth to a microphone as they answer questions, then, how are we handling that? So I would like like I said, I would like a demonstration, and I would like essentially a rule sheet of how this is going to be handled if we come back in person in that way.
So Kelsey, my other comment, I have a comment. All this sounds nice, but if these numbers keep going up, this needs to go away bye-bye. I mean, it needs to be understood that if these numbers climb like some of the other places in the United States have climbed this past week, this is definitely not going to take place. Just not. At least I'm not going to. I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest about that.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be stated as well for the record. That, if the COVID numbers rise substantially, and not saying that it's going to happen, God forbid, but I need to be realistic. This is about my safety and the public safety. And I want us to, I miss sitting next to Peggy and everybody, but, I'm sorry. If numbers go up, this ain't happening.
Right, and that's where I think, like I said, I'd like to see us talk about, the actual plan at the next meeting and how that would work so that the public can understand it as well. I mean, it's not just a matter of us understanding it. I want to make sure that we have it on record how the public will be able to interact with us still. I mean, that is my biggest concern in this, in changing anything right now, because the way that it's been going I feel has been working fairly well. And so if we're going to change it, I want to make sure that we're covering those bases. So, and I believe that we have consensus, but if anybody disagrees, please speak up at this time. Otherwise, what I would ask is that staff come back at the next meeting with the plan that they have put together and apparently have already, but present it, put it as an agenda item and present it to us, and we can decide whether or not to approve it at that time. So, okay. Anybody have any other comments on that agenda item? All right. So we will go ahead and move on to communication from council members. Councilman Hopkins, did you have anything this evening?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Freilich?
Yes, I do, Kelsey. Thank you. During this past summer, I've been going up and down Housing Street many times, going over to the transfer station. And I have noticed that every time we've gotten a heavy rain, there's that area that's a low area between Hauser Street and the slough. And that thing has been full of water more times than I can shake a stick at every heavy rain. And there's water also crossing or in the roadway on Hauser Street. And I was wondering if there's a problem or an issue of why that water is not being drained away. John, maybe you can answer that for me.
Let's see if he's still on here.
Yeah. We have a study going on right now, Councilman, that is going to address that issue. We know this problem. We've had bids on cleaning out the outfall from our lift station that actually creates that problem, that wet area. So we're looking into it, and hopefully we should have something. It seems to be about a $150,000 plus issue that we haven't budgeted for, but we think we should probably budget for it this December and come up with an answer next year.
So you're saying it's a lift station problem?
No, it's not. It's a debris issue that comes down from the top of the hill that is filling that area full of sand, and we have to clear that entire area on the west side of Hauser. That is going to be a really big project because I mean it's pretty complex. If you want to talk about it in depth, I can tell you about it.
I'll come talk to you about it.
Yeah, we are working on it. We are working on it, and we will take care of the issue. It's just something we haven't budgeted for. We have a study ongoing right now that is looking at that issue, and hopefully we should have an answer for budget in December.
Okay, thank you. That's all for me tonight, Kelsey. Thank you.
All right. And John, I've got a few questions on that, but I'm not going to ask them here. I'll touch base with you outside the meeting. I'd like some more information on that particular issue. I wasn't aware of it till now. So, all right. Thank you, Councilman Freilich, and thank you for your input, John. All right, Councilman Malcolm, did you have anything this evening?
Yes, sir. One question, one comment and concern. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the roundabout opening on 2nd Street there. Looks very nice. The work on 2nd Street going up is looking very nice with one exception. The intersection of Walnut and 2nd Street. The intersection itself, it took a lot of construction or traffic. I don't know. There's some craters and potholes there, and I'm hoping that that there's going to be some patching or concrete fill in for that to make that look the way it should. I mean, the streets are fine. The roundabout is excellent, but that intersection itself took some serious construction hits, and I'm just curious if hopefully that will be addressed or looked at and see what we can do to fix that to make it fit everything else that's going on there. Other than that, great job for the public works people in getting it done.
All right. Thanks, Councilman Malcolm. Councilwoman Gordon, did you have anything this evening?
Yes, thank you, Kelsey. Just first of all, we've had a lot of great positive projects introduced tonight, which are great, and we want to keep moving forward. And thank you, Keep Muscatine Beautiful Committee. Keep up the good work. But I want to say thanks also to the local artists, who are bringing color and beauty to downtown. We've got some amazing artwork going on and press from it. So it's great stuff happening in Muscatine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gordon. Councilwoman Brockert, did you have anything this evening?
Yes, I was very excited to see an article this afternoon that 3 of our housing projects got tax credits from the state. So it appears Colorado Lofts, Grandview Lofts, and the Steamboat project will be able to go ahead to the next step.
Good to hear. Thank you very much. Councilman Gendrich, did you have anything this evening?
Well, I did real quick, and then I forgot to write down the date. You guys probably, it's in your emails, but don't forget that open house. I believe it's at Geneva Club for the new water tower, and encourage the acknowledgement of that. Pardon me?
August 11th.
August 11th. Way to go, Dennis.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right. And I think I've spoken enough tonight, so I don't have anything.
Hoppy? What about Hoppy?
No. How did I miss him? No, I asked him first.
You didn't?
Oh. Didn't I?
Yes, you didn't skip me. You asked me first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Right.
skipped you.
I have a list.
I skipped you.
I have a list in front of me, Councilwoman Garden, that I've been trying to go very faithfully on it. If you haven't noticed, I don't skip around the council members like the mayor does. I just go through the same exact list in order and end on myself. So
I'm sorry.
not a problem. Not a problem. Because if I had missed him, I would have felt bad. So, all right. Well, staff, Greg or Cinda, did you have anything this evening?
Greg here. No, I'm good to go this week.
All right. Thank you very much. At this point, then, I don't see any other questions that ended up in the chat, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Thank you very much. We're adjourned. Before people log off real quick, I did forget to mention that we do not have an in-depth meeting this month. It is August. That is tradition. So our next meeting will be the 3rd Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night all.
Good night.
Thank you.